Hello everybody and welcome back to Room Temp Beer. Today is a very straightforward video. A little bit late to the party. Happy New Year, by the way. Also late to that party. But just going to be listing my top 10 movies of 2025. If you guys are interested in knowing what I'm looking forward to in 2026, let me know. But other than that, I don't have much to add, so let's get right into my rankings. And as always, these are, personal opinions, some of which you may disagree with, but I encourage that. Let's get right into the list. Yo, editor here. I forgot to talk about movies that I would have included if I had actually seen them, because I heard good things about them. So, Wake Up Dead Man, heard a lot of good things about that one. If I had time to see it, it probably would have been on this list. And a movie that I know for a fact would have been on the list is probably No Other Choice. But there was no theater that was playing that near me. I'm probably going to end up watching it sometime next week, but I wanted to get this out before, it's been a little bit over a week of January, but I wanted to get it out before, the weekend. So those two movies would probably be on this list if I had seen them in 2025. Starting up at number 10, we've got The Long Walk. One thing I've learned is that Stephen King's non-horror works are often just as compelling as his standard fare. Think of something like Life of Chuck or, Shawshank, obviously. The Long Walk is largely carried by the performances of its stars, and, there's nothing wrong with that. David Johnson, in particular, is fantastic. I want to see him in every movie. He's great. It really carries the movie, in my opinion, alongside his co-stars, but he really turns out I think, the best performance in that movie. He's magnanimous, the writing goes a long way in endearing us to these boys despite knowing that most of them are going to die by the end of it. The vibe and tension is perfect. I just wish that there was a bit more world building, because the premise, while kind of scary, but we don't really know why this is happening in the first place, so I feel like more context there would be helpful. But other than that, I had a great time watching it. At number 9, we've got The Naked Gun. I've never watched the originals, but I'm a big fan of Akiva Schaffer and what he did with The Lonely Island, so I knew this would be funny at the very least. I really wasn't expecting one of the best theater experiences of my life, and I certainly wasn't expecting to, cry laughing during the film. Liam Neeson's a perfect decision for Frank Drebin Jr., and I think his chemistry with Pamela Anderson is amazing. I also think that in a film landscape where cameos are held with so much regard, I think this film was one of the first in maybe 5 or 6 years to use cameos in an effective way that actually made me laugh and were, well placed. And I think this should be the gold standard for how cameos are used in films in the future. I hope this creative team gets to make a sequel, because I laughed my ass off, and I would love to do it in the theater with my boys again. At number 8, we have One Battle After Another. Now, some people have this at the top of their list. Some people don't have it on their list at all. They say it's bad. It's a misrepresentation of said POC group, whatever. I enjoyed the filmmaking a lot. I think the story felt a little disjointed, and the pacing was a little bit, it wasn't always my cup of tea in terms of where the story was going, but the character performances are great, and I think Leo and Tiana Taylor do a great job. I'm blanking on, I think it's Chase Infinity. I think that's the daughter in the film. She does a great job. Sean Penn is both ridiculous and also hilarious, and also kind of threatening. He does a really great job balancing this very strange character. I appreciate the kind of heightened reality that this is in. Surely a neo-Nazi group wouldn't exist in that capacity, but let's be honest, they probably do. I think Benicio del Toro is probably the highlight of the movie for me. The way his arc kind of proceeds, and how he is a support to Leo, but, very much doing his own thing, the calm, cool, collected guy. I love him in that movie. And I think the filmmaking and the soundtrack in particular are fantastic and really elevate it. I think Paul Thomas Anderson's this is one of his best films just from a directing standpoint. In terms of story and how things play out, I think it's all right. But yeah, I think it's a really fun watch. At number 7, we have Frankenstein. After decades of adaptations, I think this is the most definitive one that we'll ever get. I think the costume and the set design is undoubtedly the best of the year, and the performances across the board are awesome, particularly Jacob Elordi. I was very impressed. He's been the it boy for so long, and I kind of have disdain for for white it boys as they come and go. I had it for Timothée Chalamet until I grew to respect him, and I felt that way about Jacob Elordi, and I've grown to respect him as well. I think he is fantastic as the creature. He brings a lot of depth, especially in the eyes, and his voice and his physicality, all of it is really well done. My only gripe with the film is I think that the creature could have looked a little bit uglier, just my opinion, and that I think the whole like backstory with Victor and his mom, I don't really think it was that necessary. Yeah, I don't know. I just wasn't a big fan of it. I feel like it took a while to get to the actual, thing that we were there for. But it was still well done, despite me thinking that it's kind of unnecessary. But, aside from that, I think it's one of the most beautifully told films of the year. It's definitely worth a rewatch. I'm probably gonna add it to my, Halloween rewatch roster. So, it's pretty good. At number 6, some people might find this kind of a shocker, Chainsaw Man Reze Arc. If you follow anime at all, this one's kind of a no-brainer. MAPPA's once again churned out like animation that feels otherworldly in its fluidity. I didn't care much for Reze in the manga, and honestly, her like manic her manic pixie dream girl thing wears on me a little bit in the movie as well. But it helps to remember that it's an act and it's supposed to, it's supposed to be for Denji, not for anyone else. So the rest of it's supposed to be like, who the fuck is this girl? But for Denji, it's supposed to be like, oh, she's perfect and whatever. I think the relationship she has with Denji and the tragedy of like her betrayal towards him is really well portrayed in this movie. It kind of didn't hit me that hard in the manga, but I think Kensuke Ushio's soundtrack is a big factor in why I feel that way, especially that scene they have in the swimming pool, and then Ushio's track in the pool plays in the background as well. I think that is like a standout moment for a lot of people. And then obviously the big third act like blowout fight scene is like, it's like 15 Jujutsu Kaisen Shibuyas rolled into one, and I think it's like a standout showcase. I think it should win Animated Film of the Year at the Oscars, but we all know that's not going to happen. But I think it belongs on the nomination list because it's fantastic. At number 5, we have Bugonia, the Emma Stone, Jesse Plemons, Yorgos Lanthimos trio trifecta collaboration. It seems to be going strong. It's well shot and an incredibly tense thriller. I don't really want to spoil too much about it. I think it's ham-fisted in a few ways, but that doesn't make what it's trying to say any less interesting or like fun. And despite the growing tension in the film, I think it's legitimately like emotional and funny at times. And I think this is like supplemented by the score, which, I feel like the score kind of takes place inside the main character's head a little bit, and that lends itself to what's going on in his head. Even if you might think like, oh, the OST doesn't really fit with what's going on in the film. I think it fits with what's going on inside the character's head really well. And again, don't want to spoil too much, but I think it's like a fantastic watch. I think it's tense, it's funny, well acted, well shot, focus pulls. Some of my favorite focus pulls of the year. I think this one's a must watch for anyone that's a fan of Lanthimos' previous films. And even if you're not, I feel like this is definitely his most digestible film. Probably. Yeah. I think this is one of his more digestible films, so people that maybe didn't like his old other stuff might enjoy this one more. Number 4, we got Marley Supreme. This was definitely like the wildest theater experience I've had this year. I don't want to spoil too much, but Mr. Chalamet turns out another pretty great performance. I don't think it's my favorite of the year, but, it's up there. He does a really good job. I think the development of Marty's character is a really interesting one. He starts off selling shoes, and he says, I don't want to sell shoes. It's not what I'm made for. And I don't want to be a salesman. And then what does he do for the rest of the film? He's a salesman. He's selling people. He's talking his way out of situations or talking his way into other situations. And I think that really sets up his entire arc right there in the first like two minutes of the film. And I think that's like really interesting how his character plays out. As soon as you think you might know where the film is going, it goes somewhere completely different. It's wild. It's more like Uncut Gems than The Smashing Machine, which, when I saw the trailer, I thought it would be more like The Smashing Machine. No, it is not a sports film by any means. It's completely different. And I think that's to its benefit. At number 3, it's biased. I'm gonna get flack for it. Superman. I watched this movie like 6 times. It brought back the idea of hope for me. Everything about it, everything from its intentional to its unintentional messaging, really uplifted me and made me feel like, man, we're so back. It's not a unique take on superhuman combat. The camera moves around a lot. I love it when they move the camera around, and it was really fulfilling to see like these insane, wacky characters finally put on the big screen. Some characters that I never thought I'd see. Guy Gardner, Metamorpho. I never thought I'd see those guys in a live action film, and they were portrayed wonderfully, and I can't wait to see them reappear hopefully in the future as well. At number 2, we've got Bring Her Back. The Rata twins are 2 for 2 on their films so far. The mood is bleak, the antagonist is disgusting and hurtful to watch. The film overall is like a miserable, hopeless feeling slogfest. Now these sound like bad things, but I truly do think that with just these 2 films, the Rata twins have mastered this unnerving, disgusting feeling that they can evoke from me and clearly many other people. The focus pulls, the use of sound, the gross misconceptions of angelic beings, the fascinating use of rituals, which are both hidden and prominent in certain ways. It's all perfect. My stomach was twisting and turning and churning, like the body horror that these guys are fans of since their YouTube days. Still gross, still effective, but it's like the emotional aspects of their horror that are still so, it's what sticks with you the most, you know? And yeah, I think they're 2 for 2, and I'm really excited to see. I think I want them to stay in the horror kind of sphere for a little bit longer before they branch out to something else, because I think this is where they shine the most. And it's the kind of movie that I would want to make in the future. So, yeah, Bring Her Back, number 2. At number 1, we've got Sinners. Like, come on, man. I could have made this whole video just about Sinners. Ryan Coogler's a genius. Michael B. Jordan's still the GOAT. Miles Catton is one of like the new generational talents, I feel, and I'm going to keep an eye on him very closely. The way they utilize and iterate on vampiric lore is innovative beyond belief. The music, you know, the way Miles Catton performs the OST, Ludwig Göransson, of course, coming back with another Ryan Coogler collaboration and knocking it out of the park. I think this is like a horror musical in some ways, and it's all the better for it. And admittedly, I didn't think so highly of it on my first watch. It was my second watch where I truly realized the vision and the scope and like the way they were pulling all these different threads together and just the magnitude of what they were accomplishing. It really clicked for me on my second watch, and I've loved it, you know, even more every time I've watched it since, which has been like 3 or 4 times. The character dynamics are given room to breathe, and the main horror aspect isn't even shown to be that terrifying. It's kind of shown to be inviting, which, you know, is not something that horror movies try to aim for most of the time. I think Jack O'Connell as Remick is one of the most fascinating antagonists I've seen on screen in a long time. And did I mention, the music is really good. I think this is what Ryan Coogler's entire career has been building up to. I think it's been building up to this movie. And the dude's like not even 40, I don't think. I think he's like 38, 39 years old. So he's got a long way to go in his career, and I can't wait to see what he does next. The editing, the directing, the acting, I think everything about this film is top tier. It's black excellence, you know, and it's kind of sad to see it not get the recognition it deserves at the awards so far. Hopefully it gets a couple of Oscars. At the end of the day, that's not what matters, but I think it does deserve all the accolades that it can get because it's a special film. And it's a film whose marketing campaign nearly failed it. I saw the trailer for Sinners, and I thought it would be really bad. I was not interested in watching it. I only went to watch it when the reviews came out and people said, oh, this is a special film, you should go watch it. But up until then, I wasn't interested. So, like, I think whoever cut the trailers together needs to get fired, and they need a better marketing campaign because I damn near did not watch the best film of the year. Anyways, that's all for the video. Thank you all so much for watching. I'd love to know what you guys watched this year and what your favorites were. Leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe, and I have a couple more video ideas, mostly in the comic realm, but you know, movies are my thing, and I wanted to let you guys know what my thoughts were on the last year. It was a great year for film, but I'm gonna venture back into the comic sphere for a little bit. But yeah, that's all for today. Wishing you guys a happy new year, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye bye.